Why you keep having the same dream? Carl Jung observed that the dream which comes back again and again is not a haunting, it is a message the psyche keeps resending because it has never once been received. As Jung wrote in a letter to Fanny Bowditch in 1916, who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes, and Jung would stop you right there and say, "Do you see it? The very dream you cannot shake is proof that some part of you has spent years looking outside, at the job, at the person, at the argument that will not resolve, while the thing that is actually asking to be seen sits quietly on the inside, patient, unhurried, and it keeps sending you the same picture, not because it is cruel, but because you keep opening the door and looking past it toward the street. Night after night the same knock, and you answer, and you still look the wrong way. You check the street, you check the noise outside, you check everyone else's face for the answer, and the knock comes again the very next night, because the one place you have not yet checked is the room you are already standing in. So here is where we begin. I say to myself, the dream that repeats is not against me, it is for me, I say. The same image returning is a hand still knocking because I have not yet opened the door all the way, I say. The meaning was never hidden from me, only unattended by me, and so say it with me. I make the unconscious conscious, and again, I make the unconscious conscious. If something in you just went quiet, if you already know which dream I mean, the one that has visited you for years in one disguise or another, type the 2 words "face it" in the comments below. Let that be the first honest look you have given it. The first key is this: the repeating dream is not a broken record, and it is not a punishment. It is persistence. Jung taught that a dream arises to compensate whatever the conscious attitude has left lopsided. It is the psyche's attempt to restore a balance the daylight mind refuses to keep. And when the same dream returns night after night, month after month, sometimes across years, that is not because the unconscious has run out of images. It is because the situation the dream is answering has simply not changed. Think of it plainly. If you fall asleep every night, still carrying the same unspoken resentment toward a parent, the same fear you dress up as practicality, the same refusal to admit a marriage has gone cold, the dream will keep arriving in the same shape, because the question underneath it has not moved an inch. This is not fate mocking you. It is closer to a doctor checking the same wound at the same hour, because the wound has not healed. You do not blame the doctor for returning. Imagine a woman who has dreamed for 4 years of standing in her childhood kitchen, while her mother speaks to her in a tone that makes her feel very small. She wakes with her jaw tight. She makes coffee. She goes to work. She is kind and capable all day. She calls her mother on Sunday exactly as she always has. Pleasant, careful, unchanged. And that night the kitchen is waiting for her again. The dream is not inventing a new grievance each time. It is returning to the one room in her inner life she has never once walked all the way into while awake. The kitchen does not move because she has not moved, and this is worth sitting with, because most of us assume a recurring dream must mean something exotic, some rare unconscious content clawing its way up from the depths, when very often it means the plainest thing imaginable, a conversation you have not had, a feeling you have not felt through to its end, a door you keep glancing at and walking past on your way to the coffee pot. Picture your own week for a moment. How many small moments pass where something rises in you, a flash of anger at a comment, a pang of grief at a photograph, a flicker of longing for a life you did not choose, and how many of those moments you set down gently and continue with your day? Each one seems too small to matter, and each one is, taken alone, but the unconscious does not grade on isolated incidents. It keeps a running account, and a recurring dream is often the ledger finally being read aloud. So when it comes again tonight, or tomorrow, do not ask, why is this happening to me again? Ask instead, what is still exactly where I left it? That question alone will do more than any interpretation, because the dream is not broken, you are simply standing still, and it is patient enough to wait. Think also of how a body signals a splinter left under the skin. The ache is not new information manufactured out of nowhere. It is the same old fact, unaddressed, announcing itself again in the only language the body has. A dream that repeats is doing exactly this with the psyche. The splinter has not moved, so the ache has not stopped, and no amount of telling yourself the ache is unreasonable will remove the splinter. Only tending to it will. I let the same dream teach me once, honestly, and it can rest. The second key is this. A dream is not a disguise for something else. It is a self-portrait. Jung said plainly, "I have no theory about dreams," from his essay on the aims of psychotherapy, and he meant it. He refused to hand you a fixed code where snakes always mean this and water always means that, because the dream is speaking in the only language it has, the images of your own life, arranged not to hide the truth from you, but to show it to you exactly as it is. This matters enormously for a recurring dream, because the temptation is always to treat it like a locked box, needing a special key bought from a book, when Jung's whole point was closer to the opposite. The dream is not locked, it is looking straight at you, plainly, the way your own face looks straight back at you from a mirror, and a mirror does not need decoding, it only needs looking at. Think for a moment about how differently you would treat the dream if you stopped asking, "What does this mean?" and started asking, "What does this show?" A mirror never lies about the shape of your shoulders, it simply presents them, and the dream is doing the same with the shape of your fear, your hunger, your refusal. Imagine an ordinary woman who dreams for months of arriving late to an important meeting, again and again, the room already full, the door already closing. She wakes and calls it nerves, buys a better alarm clock, leaves earlier, and still the dream comes, because the dream was never about the clock. It was a portrait of a woman who has spent years arriving late to her own life, letting other people speak first, letting other people decide the agenda. The lateness in the dream is not a warning about traffic, it is a picture, drawn with total honesty, of exactly where she already stands. Notice how she keeps solving the wrong problem. A new clock, an earlier alarm, a faster route to the office, and none of it touches the actual picture, because a portrait cannot be corrected by rearranging the furniture in the room where it hangs. It can only be corrected by the person who sat for it. Changing. Jung told of a mountaineer, a man of great ambition and drive, who dreamed again and again of climbing higher than he had ever climbed, each night's dream carrying him a little further up, a little more thinly into the air, until in one dream he simply stepped off the last ledge into open sky. Jung did not read this as a fortune told in advance. He read it as an anticipation. The dream was not predicting an accident, it was portraying, with total honesty, the direction the man's whole conscious attitude was already leaning, the same hunger for height, the same refusal to imagine a ceiling, carried out to its logical picture. Not long after, the man died in a climbing accident, and Jung was careful, always, to draw the line here. The dream did not curse him, it painted him. It showed where an unchecked one-sidedness was already heading. And notice what this means for the ordinary dreamer who will never climb a mountain. The same principle holds at any scale. The dream about the collapsing bridge is not warning you about bridges. The dream about the forgotten lines in a play is not warning you about performance. It is showing you, without flattery and without cruelty, a portrait of a tendency already alive and already moving in your waking hours. This is the second thing to understand about your own recurring dream. It is not a code to be cracked with a symbol dictionary bought online. It is a portrait of a direction already alive in you. Ask yourself plainly, if this dream is a portrait and not a puzzle, what does it show me about the direction I am already leaning? Not what it predicts, but what it reveals. The anticipation is honest, the fortune-telling is not. And the difference between those two readings is the difference between fear and self-knowledge. A fortune tells you what will happen to you. A portrait tells you who is already sitting in the chair. And only one of those two things can actually be changed by you. I read my dreams as portraits, never as fortunes. The third key is this. One dream is a sentence, but a recurring dream is a conversation. And Jung insisted that the real skill is never in seizing one dream and wringing a single verdict out of it. but in following what he called the dream series, watching how the same figure, the same room, the same threat evolves or refuses to evolve across weeks and months. A single dream can mislead you. A series almost never does, because a series shows you the trend line underneath the noise. Think of it this way. If you photographed a single wave on a beach, you might guess the tide is going out, or coming in, or standing still. A single frame cannot tell you, but watch the same shoreline for an hour. Mark where the water reaches each time, and the trend becomes undeniable. A dream series is exactly this kind of record, kept not in sand, but in sleep. Picture an ordinary week, not a dramatic one, just ordinary. On Monday, you wake from the dream of the flooding house, and you shrug it off on your way to make coffee. On Tuesday, you have a small disagreement with your partner about something trivial, money or dishes, or a tone of voice, and you swallow it rather than say what you actually feel. On Wednesday, you catch yourself daydreaming at your desk about a version of your life you gave up on years ago. On Thursday, you feel unaccountably tired by 4 in the afternoon, and you blame the weather. On Friday, you have a glass of wine you did not need, and tell yourself you deserved it. And Friday night, the dream comes again. The same water, a little higher this time. By itself, Monday's dream looked like static, but strung across the week, it is a single sentence spoken slowly. Something is not being said. Something is not being felt. Something is quietly rising while you manage the surface. Notice too what the series does that a single night cannot. It shows you not only that the water rises, but how quickly, whether it climbed an inch this month or a foot, whether the same stranger in the dream has grown closer or turned away, whether the door you could not open last year has begun, this year, to show the faintest crack of light beneath it. A single dream freezes one moment. The series shows you the direction of travel, and direction, far more than any single image, is what actually matters. This is why Jung distrusted anyone who claimed to interpret a dream in isolation, cut off from the dreamer's actual week, actual marriage, actual work. A dream read without its context is a letter read without knowing who sent it or why. So here is a small practice worth keeping. Call it the context protocol. Each morning, write down not just the dream, but also, beside it, the one thing from yesterday you avoided saying, the one feeling you postponed. Do this plainly, without decorating it. 3 lines are enough. After 2 or 3 weeks, lay the entries side by side and look for the sentence they are forming together. Do not search for a clever symbol. Search instead for a repeated posture, the same swallowing, the same postponing, the same small daily surrender, dressed differently each time. You will very often find that the recurring dream is not repeating itself out of stubbornness. It is repeating itself because your context has been repeating itself. The dishes conversation you swallow on Tuesday is the same swallowed conversation from 3 Tuesdays ago. The daydream at the desk is the same abandoned hope from last spring. The dream is loyal, painfully loyal. It keeps sending the same letter because the address has not changed. And once you begin reading the series instead of the single night, you stop asking what does this symbol mean and start asking what is my life still saying to itself. Night after night, in the only voice left that is still telling the truth. This is also why 2 people can have what looks like the identical dream, a flood, a fall, a locked room, and mean 2 entirely different things by it. Because the series belongs to the life, not to the symbol. Your flood is not your neighbor's flood. Your locked room is not your sister's locked room. The envelope may look the same from the outside, sealed, plain, unremarkable, but only the one addressed to you will open when you finally read your own week beside it. And this is worth restating simply. A symbol dictionary can tell you what water has meant to strangers. Only your own week can tell you what it means to you. I listened to the whole conversation, not just tonight's line. The 4th key is this. The unconscious frequently sees further and earlier than the conscious mind is willing to admit, and it will say so in dream after dream, long before the waking mind catches up, Jung recorded. With real caution, Cases where a patient's dreams pointed toward a physical condition well before it was recognized by ordinary means. He was careful never to turn this into a method. He made no medical claims from it. He did not tell his patients to diagnose themselves by dream, and neither should you. But he offered it as evidence of something worth taking seriously, that the deep mind is not a lesser, cruder version of the conscious one. It is in some respects more honest and occasionally more perceptive, because it is not managing appearances. It is not worried about looking competent at dinner. It simply reports what it notices. Think of how differently the two minds spend an ordinary day. The conscious mind is busy answering messages, rehearsing what to say in a meeting, deciding what to eat, smoothing over a small tension with a friend, so the afternoon can keep moving. It has no spare attention left for the quiet signal from the body, the faint ache dismissed as sitting wrong, the fatigue blamed on a bad night's sleep, the unease in a relationship explained away as just a mood. But the deep mind was awake the whole time, underneath all that management, and at night, when the daylight duties finally loosen their grip, it hands back a report, sometimes plainly, sometimes in image. Imagine a woman who dreams for months of a house with a cracked foundation. She wakes each time mildly unsettled, tells herself it is only stress, goes about her week, and only later, when a doctor's visit or a hard conversation finally brings to light what her body or her marriage had been quietly straining under, does she recognize the dream had been reporting on the crack long before she let herself feel it by day? Jung would not call this fortune-telling. He would call it noticing. The dream was not predicting doom. It was simply more awake to what was already true than she had allowed herself to be. Think also of the smaller, gentler version of this that visits nearly everyone. The dream of misplacing something valuable, a wallet, a set of keys, a ring, again and again, long before any actual loss occurs, and only months later does the dreamer notice they have, in fact, been quietly losing something all along. Not an object, but a sense of direction, a closeness with someone, a piece of their own confidence, spent slowly, unnoticed, the way a coin purse empties one small purchase at a time without ever feeling like loss in the moment. The deep mind noticed the emptying long before the daylight mind counted the coins. So when a dream keeps circling the same body part, the same room in a house, the same failing structure, the wisest response is not panic, and it is not amateur diagnosis. It is attention. Ordinary, patient attention. Ask yourself, has this recurring image been trying to tell me something about my health, my finances, my marriage, that I have been too occupied to notice consciously, not as prophecy, but as a report from a part of you that has been quietly paying closer attention than you have? This is the fourth thing worth carrying with you. Before you reach for a dream dictionary, before you assume the symbol means what some stranger's book insists it means, ask what has the deepest, oldest part of me already noticed that I have not yet let myself know. I trust what the deep mind sees before I do. The fifth key is the one that actually changes things, and it comes in 3 parts. So stay with me through all 3, because this is where the recurring dream stops being a mystery and starts being a mirror held up to you personally, not to people like you, not to dreamers in general, but to you, this week, in your own house, on your own street, in the particular shape of your particular avoidance. First, consider why the dream keeps failing to land. Most people who bring a recurring dream to Jung's method make the same mistake. They treat the dream as something to be solved once, like an equation. Get the right answer, and move on with your life. But Jung was clear that dreams are not solved, they are outgrown. The dream is not a locked door with one correct key. It is closer to a question your whole life is being asked to answer, with how you live, not with what you decide the symbol means. Imagine a woman who for 11 years dreams the same short dream. She is standing in the hallway of her childhood home, a door in front of her, slightly open, and every single time she reaches for the handle, and every single time she wakes before she turns it. For 11 years she has told this dream to friends over coffee. She has decided it means she fears change. She has decided it means her mother. She has decided a dozen clever things. and every single year, the door reappears exactly as open and exactly as untouched as before, because she has been answering a door with a theory, and a door is not moved by a theory. It is moved by a hand. Notice what her mornings actually look like in those 11 years. She wakes from the hallway. She showers. She drinks her coffee standing at the counter reading something on her phone. She drives to work rehearsing a phrase she will never say to her mother. She comes home. She is pleasant on the telephone. She goes to sleep. And the hallway is waiting. Night after night, the theory has changed a dozen times, but the hand on the doorframe has not moved once. So if you have spent years assigning meanings to your recurring dream, while your actual days have not changed shape at all, that is very likely why it keeps returning. You have been offering it an interpretation when it has been asking, plainly, for a change in conduct, in attention, in what you are finally willing to feel or say or stop pretending about. The door in her dream was never asking to be explained. It was asking to be opened, and no explanation, however elegant, however true it even sounds at a dinner table, opens a door. Second, consider the trap of certainty. The moment you decide you have finally cracked the code, that the door in your dream definitely means your fear of leaving a marriage and nothing else, watch closely what happens next. The mind often stops listening. It files the dream undersolved and moves on. And this is exactly backward. Jung avoided fixed dictionaries of symbols for this very reason. No dream dictionary can tell you what a door means in your life, because a door in one dreamer's life is an old grief still standing, and in another, it is a decision endlessly delayed, and in another, it is simply a door. The correct question is never what does this image mean everywhere. It is what does this image mean here, in this dreamer's actual week. And there is a second danger hiding inside certainty. Once you believe you have named it correctly, you often stop asking whether the naming has changed anything at all. The woman in the hallway could recite her theory beautifully at a dinner table, calmly, even wisely, and still wake the next morning having done nothing differently. Certainty can become its own hiding place, a very sophisticated way of continuing to avoid the handle while feeling, falsely, that the matter has been handled. Think of a man who dreams for years of standing at a podium with no notes and every face in the crowd turned away from him. He decides, cleverly, that it means he fears being unseen by his father. He says this often. He says it well, and he still spends every Sunday dinner performing for a table that stopped listening to him years ago. The theory is not wrong exactly. It is simply not enough, because a theory can be held in the mind without ever once touching the hand. So when the recurring dream arrives again, resist finishing the sentence too quickly. Take a page, write the dream in full on one side, and beside it write, in complete honesty, what you avoided saying yesterday, what you felt and did not speak, what you wanted and told yourself you did not want. Then read the two sides together slowly, out loud if you can bear it, and let the connection surface on its own instead of forcing it. This is slower than a theory and far less satisfying in the moment. But it is honest, and the dream has never once asked you to be clever, only honest. Notice, too, how often the cleverness itself is a kind of persona, worn specifically for this one dream, a polished little speech kept ready for whoever asks, and a persona, however true it once was, will still stand exactly where it has always stood, guarding the door instead of opening it. Third, and this is the turn, consider that the reason this particular image keeps choosing you out of every possible picture your mind could produce is not random. Jung would say that whatever recurs in your dreams is recurring because it names the specific one-sidedness of your specific life, not the general condition of humanity. So pause for a moment and pick one real recurring dream from your own life, the one you have carried quietly since you were younger than you would like to admit, and ask honestly, not cleverly, what is still exactly the way it was when this dream first began? What have I refused to let move? Is it a relationship you outgrew but never left? Is it an ambition you abandoned but never grieved? Is it an anger towards someone you still perform kindness for? Is it a fear you have organized your entire week around avoiding without ever once naming it as fear? You already know the answer. You have known it for longer than you have known almost anything else. The dream is not clever. You are the one who has been clever, dressing the same wound in new language every year so you would not have to look directly at it. The door in the hallway did not move in 11 years because the hand did not move in 11 years. That is the whole of it. No deeper code required. And notice how quietly this turns back on you. Not on the woman, not on the man at the podium, on you, tonight. Whatever your own hallway happens to be, whatever your own crowd of turned-away faces happens to mean, the dream has already told you everything it knows. It told you the first year, and the third, and the 9th. It has not been holding anything back from you. It has been repeating itself patiently, because you have been the one holding back, and here is the mercy hidden inside all of this. The dream is not punishing you for taking this long. It is not even impatient. It has simply been waiting. The way a lantern left burning in a window does not resent the traveler who takes the long way home. It only keeps burning, so that when you finally do arrive, the light is still there, and the handle, when you finally reach for it, turns more easily than 11 years of fear ever let you believe it would. And consider, gently, that this is true of you specifically. Whatever hallway you carry, whatever door has stayed exactly as ajar as it was the very first year you dreamed it. The light has not gone out waiting for you. It was never going to. But I stop guessing the code and start asking the question. The 6th key is this. Once you have actually done the work, once you have sat with the dream honestly instead of cleverly, Jung gave a piece of advice that surprises people every time they hear it. In Man and His Symbols, he wrote, of engaging seriously with a dream, and then forget it all. He did not mean neglect the dream. He meant something almost the opposite. He meant, do not carry it like a stone in your pocket forever. Do not keep polishing the interpretation until it becomes another persona you wear, another clever thing you say about yourself at dinner parties. The purpose of understanding the dream was never to possess a permanent explanation. It was to let the understanding change how you live. And once it has done that, the dream very often simply stops. Not because you defeated it, but because it was never trying to fight you. It was trying to finish a sentence, and the sentence is now finished. Imagine a woman who dreamed for 10 years of a locked room at the end of the hallway in her childhood house. Every version slightly different. Sometimes the door was painted shut. Sometimes she had the key and could not make her hand turn it. Sometimes she woke just as the handle began to move. She asked friends what it meant. She read books that told her a locked room means repressed memory. She collected interpretations the way some people collect stamps, filed neatly, admired occasionally, changing nothing, and the dream kept coming, until one ordinary Tuesday, she finally telephoned her sister and said the sentence she had swallowed for 2 decades, that she had never forgiven their mother for something specific and small, and never once said so out loud. It took 4 minutes. Her sister cried. She cried. Nothing was solved in any dramatic sense. No reconciliation scene. Just an honest sentence finally spoken into the air, instead of into a locked room. And that night, she dreamed of the hallway again. But the door was simply open, and there was nothing inside but an empty room full of ordinary daylight. She did not dream of that house again for years. This is what forgetting it all actually means. Not walking away from the dream unchanged, but finishing what the dream was asking you to finish, so thoroughly that the dream no longer has a reason to knock. So if a dream has been visiting you for years, do not treat its silence, when it finally comes, as a loss, and do not treat its return, if it comes again in some new shape, as a failure. The recurring dream was never trying to punish you for being slow. It was keeping faith with you while you found your way, patient as a lantern left burning past midnight, for a traveler taking the long way home. And when the traveler finally does arrive, the lantern is not resentful. It is simply set down gently, its work finished, the window growing light around it. I answer the dream, then I let it go. Here is the whole picture. The dream returns because the question underneath it has not moved. The dream is a portrait, never a fortune. One dream is a sentence, but the series is the whole conversation. The deep mind often sees before you do. So give it the plain attention a mirror deserves. The answer is never a clever code. It is an honest change. And once you have made that change, you no longer need to keep the interpretation. You only needed the courage it asked of you. That is the single key wearing 6 different faces, all of them asking the same quiet thing. Look, finally, at what has been waiting. And so the resolve stands as I spoke it before. The door was never locked, only unopened. The same knock at the same hour was never an accusation. It was an invitation, patient enough to outlast my avoidance, and it still is. So tell me, gently, without needing to answer it tonight, what has your dream been trying to say to you all this time? And what would it cost you, really, to finally let it finish?